guys, I'm Sarah, welcome back to my channel. So, recently I've been wanting to cut down on my TBR. These aren't like books I own, these are all the books that I have like on my Goodreads want to read list that I want to read someday. Some of them I do own, some I don't. So, I thought I would do try a chapter type video. These are for books I don't currently own. I don't currently own any of these in any format, but, I do want to see if I want to keep them on there and eventually own them and read them. So, I have about 10 to 12 books on here, and yeah, I just wanted to go through them. So I went through them on Amazon. I went to the look inside type feature, and I read the first few chapters for some of them. I think a couple of them were only the first chapter because they were kind of small. But either way, I went through that, and I kind of went through with the idea of, do I still want to read these? Like, am I still inclined to pick these up, or do I want to just check them off my TBR? Because either I'm just not interested in them anymore, they just don't fit with what I currently read, or they're just not for me in general. So yeah, if I end up liking doing this, and if you guys like watching it, please give this video a thumbs up to let me know, and then after this one, if I research more, I will do another video. So yeah, we're just gonna start with the first one, but these are in no particular order. Some of these books have been on my want to read list for, I think, 4 years, because I'm pretty sure I joined Goodreads in 2021. I'm pretty sure that's when I joined. So some of these books have been on there since I joined. So, you know, with those especially, I'm just like, do I still want to read these? So yeah, I've had some of these on there a very long time. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's just get into the first book. The first book is Rook by Jenni Sauer. And this is a sci-fi Cinderella retelling. I put this as one of the older books on the list. I think this one has been on there for 4 years now, at least somewhere up there, around there. So, I mean, this one went through like a cover change in the length of time I've had it on the list, so it's been on there a while. This one is a Cinderella retelling, obviously, so it has those vibes to it, and it's also about, I think there's like this war on this certain planet, and our main character, our Cinderella character, was either volunteered or drafted into the army. It was a little unclear from the first 2 chapters, like, what it was. I did read the full thing that Amazon gave for this one, so I read like, I don't know, 3 or 4 chapters, something like that. So yeah, anyways, she decides to run away from the army and like board this ship, and she's like passing off as a soldier that they apparently hired, or the king on the planet assigned to them. So she's passing herself off as this person, even though she has no idea what this mission is, where they're going. And that's kind of where the sample left off. I'm very interested in this one. It has very similar vibes to The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and I love that series, so very excited about that. I like the writing style, the characters are interesting. I think I'm really gonna like this one, so I'm keeping this one on the list. I also read another book by this author, I think it was last year. It was Wait Until Tomorrow, which is a novella set in the same sci-fi world. I don't think the sci-fi is going to be very techie based, which is helpful because I am extremely bad at tech-based sci-fi. I get super confused really easily. So I think this one's more in the sci-fi fantasy realm, kind of like Star Wars. So yeah, very much more into that vibe. And yeah, I'll be definitely keeping this book on my list. And hopefully that means, I'm also hoping with like going through these, I might want to, you know, read them sooner, which if I have to buy them first is a little more tricky. But yeah, I still want to be able to read them in the near future, not just leave them on there forever and be like, oh, I don't know, I'll get to it eventually. It's like, no, I actually want to read these, so I'll get the book somehow. Okay, the next one was actually just featured on my Urban Fantasy, Paranormal Romance, Spiritual Warfare TBR video, and that is Bloodline by Tabitha Caplinger. This is the first book in a trilogy. It's Christian spiritual warfare. It's young adult. This one has also been on my TBR since, I'm pretty sure, for 4 years. I think I put it on the same time, around the same time I put on Rook. So this one's been on here a while, and the writing style is very basic, but I still like it. I like the way the characters are written. The first chapter was extremely confusing though. I think we did a lot of time jumping around. Like it opens with like almost like a dream sequence. I think it's a dream. I'm actually not sure. I think she was also being a ballet dancer at the time, but I'm not 100% sure. It left me feeling a little uncertain. And then we did a couple of time jumps in between, I think, at least, or just things that were out of order. It was confusing, the first chapter, but I'm still interested enough to keep going with it and see what happens. There's also a prologue at the beginning of this one, and the prologue definitely gives you the sense of dread that there's something going on. Like the characters are like trying to hide something, and you're just kind of like, that's probably not going to work. Yeah, I definitely want to keep this one on my TBR. The main premise of this book is basically, I should have said the main premise ahead of time, but you know what? This is me, and I'm just going to end up doing things out of order. But anyways, the main premise of this is our main character is Zoe. I think that's her name. Yeah, Zoe. And she recently lost her parents in a car crash, so she's now living with her aunt. They've moved to a new town, and there starts to be supernatural activity. And I think she ends up being some kind of a chosen one to some prophecy, I think is the general vibe of this book. It sounds really intriguing. The very beginning of the first chapter, like I was saying with the ballerina thing, very much reminded me of Angel Eyes by Shannon Ditmore. So very unique that both of these Christian spiritual warfare books have similar beginnings. We have kind of like wild card, mainly because this is a genre I don't typically read a lot of unless it's by particular authors. That is Truth is a Whisper by Mandi Blake. It's Christian contemporary romance. Not generally my jam, but Amanda from Book Lover Amanda has talked nonstop about Mandi's books, and Mandi's an indie author, and I like supporting indie authors, and I'm the indie book girl, so I like looking into new authors and things. So, with Amanda's high recommendation, I was very intrigued by this series in particular, which is the Wolf Creek Ranch, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, I really like the Western vibe. I live in the Western United States, so it's definitely kind of my neck of the woods, and I really just like that vibe anyways. So I really like that it has that aspect to it. The characters really drew me in. The plot seems pretty typical, at least from the first bit that I read. It seems pretty typical to most contemporary romances. But I mean, that's kind of the genre, so I don't really mind that. It's just kind of like when you first go into it, you're just like, oh, okay, it's gonna be like this. So, yeah, that's not so bad. I do like her writing style. There was a part where there was a lot of, like, cowboy lingo or something. I'm not quite sure what was going on in that particular scene in the diner. That was confusing a bit, but the rest of it isn't. Also, one of the main characters, Ava, seems to be dealing with a narcissistic mother. So mental, emotional abuse there. So I really want to see how she handles that topic, because that is a topic that is very close to my heart. So I like seeing how authors handle that, because not everyone handles it the greatest, but yeah, I just want to see how this one works out and how the main character is going to get herself out of it. So yeah, definitely going to try this one as well. So this one is a newer one on my TBR, and I pretty much put it on there because of Amanda's recommendation, and it looks cute. I really like the covers, with like the horses at the bottom and the people at the top. I don't know. It's kind of a cliche, kind of like Western type cover, but I still like it. So we come to the first book on here that I am not keeping on my list. This one has been on my list for a long time. I think I put this on, again, around the same time I put on Bloodline and Rook. So, and I feel kind of bad about this because this is one of Lindsay's favorite books, and I feel bad because I did want to try it and hopefully love it as much as she does, but it's just not going to work for me. And it is a Christian, like, sci-fi dystopian, and that is Jupiter Wins by C.J. Darlington. This one's just not going to work for me, mainly because I don't have any connection to the characters. Yeah, I read, like, the first 3-ish chapters. There were, like, 4 available. I read, like, the first 3, and then I was just kind of, I just didn't care. Yeah, I feel really bad about it. The world building looks to be excellently crafted, and I like all the different elements, and kind of the technology side, but also the differences of like they're in a desert and like the different things that there are, like the drones and the all kinds of things like that. So you can definitely tell it's a dystopian, but it also has a slightly more sci-fi flavor without being too hardcore techie sci-fi. So I appreciate that. It's basically about these two sisters living on their own because their parents disappeared, and then I think they end up somehow going to Jupiter. That's all I know about the book. And unfortunately I couldn't connect with the characters, so yeah, that is the main reason I'm gonna be dropping this one, because yeah, I just didn't connect, and I have really no inclination to pick it up, so sorry, Lindsay. Please don't be mad at me for not liking one of your favorite books. Okay, then this one has also been on my TBR for quite a long time, around the same time as the previous ones I've mentioned, and that is The Beast of Talesend by Kyle Robert Shultz. This one didn't have much. It didn't actually have an look inside thing on Amazon, which was really weird. All it had was an audiobook sample, which is what I listened to. This is like a quirky type. It's a fairy tale retelling, but it's different in the fact that fairy tales and legends are like the history of this fantasy world, which is like, I think it's set in like an 1800s type time period. I think that's the time period it's in, but it's a fantasy world, and our main character is like this investigator of like magical stuff or magical things that happen. I don't know which one it is, but he doesn't believe in magic until he's on a mission, and he somehow something goes wrong on this mission, and he ends up being turned into a beast. So, you know, he believes in magic now, and he has to find some way to reverse this curse. So yeah, I've heard about this book for forever. This is like one of the very first indie books I ever heard of. It definitely always popped up whenever I started researching any of these books. This was always one of the ones that popped up a lot. So it's like one of the first old time type indie published books out there. So this is a series. I think there's like 5 books in the series so far. I don't know if it's finished yet. I know the author hasn't been writing as much, but I think the 5th book was released last year or the year before, something like that. So yeah, this one's been on here a while, but I hear it's extremely humorous from the quotes and stuff that I've seen around on like Goodreads and things. It sounds extremely humorous. The audiobook sample kind of gave that as well. If you're interested, the audiobook is also narrated by a British guy, so that's interesting. Not that I listen to audiobooks. I think I'm a terrible person for audiobooks because I would just get busy with something and stop listening. I'm a terrible person with audiobooks, so I'm sorry, gonna have to adjust the camera here. My feet fell asleep. Anyways, so yeah, I'm definitely still very interested in trying this one, and I like humorous stuff, but it sounds like there's going to be some more serious things too, so yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. I hate this cover though. This is like the newest cover. It's had like 3 different covers, at least that I know of. I've seen like 2 other ones plus this one, and this one's ugly. I don't know what the author was thinking with this cover. It is quite ugly. I preferred one of the more like stylized type ones that they did that he had before, but it's this one. What are you gonna do? So this one's gonna be pretty quick. This is the only non-fiction on this list so far. This one, again, has been on here a while. I don't know if it's as long as the previous ones, or if so, it might be like a year off. I think I stuck it on around the same time frame. That is Saving Cinderella by Faith Moore. This is a, I'm gonna get the tagline wrong, but you guys can correct me. It is it's what feminists get wrong about Disney princesses and how to set it right. So this is kind of a look at taking Disney princesses and what feminists and now mostly of society have believed about Disney princesses being bad role models, and they're shallow, especially the older ones, and just kind of these kind of negative connotations about these iconic characters that aren't true. So So this one has been on my radar again for a very long time. It has switched from being available to being not available to being an ebook to being a paperback to not being either of those. Now it's just an ebook and an audiobook, so I have no clue what's going on with things like that. I'm definitely going to get the ebook of this one pretty soon, mainly because I just don't want it to disappear off the face of the map before I can get it. Because I have no idea what's going on with the publishing of it. This does only go up to Anna and Elsa from Frozen. It doesn't include Moana and anybody else they might have added to the Disney Princess lineup. I don't know if they've added anybody else or not. But yeah, because I think this book came out before or after Moana released, so she wasn't included in this book. But yeah, it looks very detailed, very well researched and outlined and stuff from the first part that I was able to read, which was mostly about Snow White. I don't even think the chapter finished. So yeah, very intriguing. I also like that she put in like references in that book to like understanding fairy tales and stuff, because I'm very interested in that aspect of like digging more into fairy tales and discovering like the themes and the symbolism and stuff behind them. So I'm hoping I can get some other recommendations from that book too on that topic, because yeah, I definitely want to dive deeper into that type of thing, because I like older stories and seeing like what the themes mean and stuff like that. Because if I want to write my own fairy tale retelling someday, I'd like to weave some of that in if I can. Now we have another one that has been on my list for a while. I don't think it's been on there. Maybe it has been on there for 4 years. This is the one's probably like 3 or 4 years. It's definitely on the older side of my list. And that is Letters by Cinderlight by Jacque Stevens? I don't know if that's how you say the author's name. I apologize if that's incorrect. This is like it's a Cinderella retelling. I was drawn to it because of the cover. The cover, it's a duology, so there's 2 books. But the covers for these were very, very pretty. I was very drawn to that fact. However, I think the story is going to be a little too dark for my taste. These are like darker takes on the fairy tales. And this one sounds like it's going to focus very heavily on the stepmother's abuse towards our Cinderella character, who I think she's supposed to be way older than she is, but to me, with the way it was written, it sounded like I was guessing she was like 12 or 13. I'm guessing she's supposed to be closer to like 16, between 16 and 18. But the way her inner monologue was, and just the way she would think of things and stuff, seemed much younger. However, this could be because of her abuse and being, you know, kind of seen as less than a person, and her mindset with that. So yeah, it could be that, but it's a little unclear. This does have like Slavic inspiration, so like the clothing and the style of housing and stuff like that is very Russian inspired, I believe. So that's a very unique world building information, because I don't think there's too many fairy tale retellings that are set in that type of setting. But I have a feeling this is going to be too dark and possibly triggering for me. Like, I enjoy is the wrong word, but I like seeing how authors incorporate and address abuse and PTSD and harder topics like that in books. But this one just feels like it's going to be a little too much for my taste. And yeah, I do prefer my fairy tale retellings to be a little on the lighter side than the darker side. Brittany Fisher's about the only one where she can go a little bit darker and I'm still gonna like the books, and because she writes fairy tale retellings. So hers are about the only ones where I'm comfortable with them going a little darker, without a lot of light or just humor and light fluffy romance to contrast it. So yeah, this one's just not gonna work for me, and I've removed it from my TBR. This one I'm super excited about though. I'm very happy this one will work for me, and this is a newer one. I think this one came out I want to say a year or 2 ago. I actually don't know, but it came out fairly recently, and that is Black and Deep Desires by Clara Trella Hill. This is a gothic romance with Christian elements. So, and it has vampires in it. Very cool premise. I really like the eerie cover of this one. It's not my favorite cover by any means, but I do like I think it fits the story very well, at least the beginning part that I've read. There's like the old house hidden in the woods. there's like the neglected girl who, you know, kind of is trying to avoid her scientist father and her really creepy brothers. I'm not gonna lie, her family's creepy. And yeah, and then there's something in the basement, and there's a vampires roaming around. Not that she knows that yet. I've not read like any gothic type stories, but I do like the vibes of it. I've seen vibes of it in like different fantasy stories and stuff, so I do like that. So yeah, I want to see how the author is gonna weave in Christian elements into a story with vampires and stuff, so yeah, that's gonna be really cool to see how she does that. I've read a book by her this year, When a Dragon Comes Courting, and I really liked it. I liked her writing style, so yeah, I definitely want to see how she wrote her very first book, which is what at least this was her first published book. But yeah, I definitely want to see how this one basically goes down in the end, because very intriguing premise, and also I don't know how they're gonna get out of this. Then we have one of my favorite genres, which is superheroes, and also an author who I think I'm really gonna enjoy. I've only read one book by her this year, but yeah, I just have a feeling I'm gonna like most of her books, and that is Accidentally on the Run by Jes Drew. This is a novella, and basically this guy has like, the main character, Gabe, he has like this kind of heightened intuition, almost like premonition type, just ability, like he seems to know certain things, yeah, it's like a heightened intuition. He just knows certain things, and then he acts on them. He works with I think the New York, either the detectives or the police, something like that, for New York City. And his best friend is this girl, and she's been like in love with him for forever, but you know, he still sees her as just his friend, so it's kind of gonna be like that best friends to lovers type thing. And yeah, something happens, I think, at least from the description, something happens with this bomb or something like that, and it like explodes Gabe's abilities to an insane level. Like to the fact that, I guess, like his intuition type thing just gets really, really heightened. And then all these people are after him, and like none of them are good. So he and his friend have to end up going on the run. So, and I'm assuming they'll like fall in love and stuff like that. So yeah, this one just sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I like the superhero element in general in books. I always like finding new superhero novels to try, and I think this one's a novella, but still, regardless, same thing. But yeah, this one's a newer addition to my list. We have another one that isn't gonna work. So that's Lightkeepers by Kennedy Plum. You're probably looking at this and you're thinking, oh, it's a Rapunzel retelling. Well, not really. I think more accurately this would be described as a Tangled retelling. In fact, it would not surprise me at all if this started out as Tangled fan fiction and the author just tweaked some stuff to make it her own so that, you know, Disney doesn't sue her for copyright infringement. So yeah, and this one, our Rapunzel type character is in a cult, and that's like why she's locked in this lighthouse, aka her tower. Very unique. I don't think I've read or seen a story where the Rapunzel character is trapped in a cult. I guess Towering by Alex Flynn, which is a book I didn't finish because it was quite terrible. I think that one was close, but the Rapunzel character wasn't part of a cult. She was being hidden from a cult type thing. So kind of close, but not really. This one, yeah, the cult thing, I don't know what it was when I read this, but I just kept feeling weirdly uneasy with it. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the cult vibes or, like, obviously you're not supposed to think, yeah, she should stay in this cult. So, and it wasn't like really creepy cult either, because she was just locked in this lighthouse by herself with her obviously abusive mother calling her on the phone and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know. Something about it just unnerved me. And then the Flynn Rider character, he seems to be in foster care, which I think I have seen before in different Tangled fan fictions, that angle on his character, so which leads me to believe that this may have been a fan fiction at one point. But yeah, I also just, I don't know, by the time I got to the 3rd chapter, I was just kind of skimming a bit, and I just didn't care. The disquieting feeling was the biggest one, and then I was just kind of bored. I couldn't connect with the characters, so yeah, definitely gonna pass this one on. It has a cute cover, though, so I'll give it that. And then the last 2 books I'm going to talk about today. The first one is a favorite with 2 of my friends on BookTube. That is Lindsay and Chantel. That is the legendary Inge by Kate Stradling. This one's like it's a Beowulf retelling. And the basic premise is like there's this monster that's been going on and terrorizing people, eating people. They can't kill it. Then it does get killed by this person in the woods who basically has a wooden practice sword, and yeah, apparently it's not invulnerable to wood, so it gets stabbed in the head and killed. The person is then taken to the castle, and the king's like, oh great, you killed this monster, I'm going to adopt you as my son, you can marry my daughter, live in the palace, blah blah blah. Problem, the person who killed the monster is a girl. Yeah, Inge, which is short for Ingrid, which is why I think it's pronounced the legendary Inge, but I could be wrong. I don't know Scandinavian. So, yeah, and she's just like, yeah, King, this isn't gonna work. I'm a girl. But he's just like, nope, you're gonna be called my son anyways, and she kind of gets stuck in this palace with this crazy king. He's insane, literally. Like, the first chapter, and it's just like, this dude's insane. He's lost his marbles, and he's running a country. So, yeah. So, looks like it's going to be extremely humorous. The characters are compelling. I'm very, very looking forward to reading this one. I think this one's been on my list for a bit. I don't actually know the exact date I put this one on, but this one's been on longer, but not as long as some of the other ones, so kind of in the middle there. And the last one, which, okay, I probably shouldn't have ended this one because this is one that's, again, not necessarily not going to work for me. I'm just not interested in continuing this series. That is A Royal Masquerade by Alison Tebo. This is the 2nd book in the Tales of Ambia series. The first book is The Reluctant Godfather. I like that book. I read it, but as I was sitting there considering it, reading the first chapter of this one, of A Royal Masquerade, I was considering, did I like The Reluctant Godfather enough to continue with the series? And I don't think I do. This one, I don't know. With The Royal Masquerade, obviously we're still following Burndy, who is the fairy godfather. And in the first chapter, we're with him and with the Prince Colin again. And I don't know, for some reason, I don't know, Prince Colin kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know, just the way he was introduced in this chapter, it was just kind of like, just didn't really like him. And yeah, I don't know, I just don't feel like continuing the series. I like The Reluctant Godfather by itself, but I don't love it as some of my other friends do. Like, I know Celestia and Lindsay really love this book, but I only just like it. So I don't think I want to continue the rest of the series. I think Celestia continued up to the 3rd book, and she didn't care for them. She just decided to stick with the first one. So I think I'm just gonna save myself some time and possibly just being okay with the next few, and I'm just gonna leave it as The Reluctant Godfather. It was good for me as a standalone, so yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I will say the one description in that book, though, with the character with the brass buckles on his shoes the size of doorknobs, that was an interesting picture. I was kind of trying to figure out, like, how does he walk with, excuse me, there were gold buckles. Sorry. He was, like, nobility. I wouldn't want him to use brass. That would be too common. But yeah, I was trying to figure out how he was walking around with, like, you know, giant buckles the size of a doorknob, which would be, depending on the shape of your doorknob, that'd be pretty big. Some doorknobs are really big. Like, how are you gonna walk with something like that on your foot? I don't know. So anyways, I'm sure that was an exaggeration on Burndy's part, but at the same time, I'm just like, so what are the mechanics of that? How would that work? So, because that's, of course, where my brain goes. I just go on, am I interested in the book? Nah. The shoe buckles, though, that is fascinating. Like, how does that work? So, and And with that intro to my very bizarre brain, yeah, those are all the books I have researched so far. Again, if you guys like this video, please let me know down below in the comments, or give this video a like and a thumbs up. That's the same thing. Whatever. This is my first time trying to, or at least my next attempt, trying to include liking and subscribing in my videos. So if you like my nonsensical ramblings, feel free to like the video and subscribe. And yeah, for more nonsense and sometimes some serious content, but it's just mostly nonsense. So if you like nonsense, hit me up. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making it once I kind of figured out how to talk about these books. Sorry if it's a little bit longer than I intended, but whatever. I had all these books, so I was like, oh, I could have separated them, but I was just like, nah, let's just do them all in one video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.